I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs.
My mom has a bunch of these little angels. They are vintage and most of them are holding different little instruments. They're like a little angel choir. This one's holding some music. This one has little tambourines. This one has some maracas. This one also has some music. And then these are slightly different. These two are also a little bit different. So in today's video, I am going to recreate this version of the little angels. So I'm going to start with some cardstock to make their dress. If you had colored cardstock, the right color, you could do that. All of my cardstock seems to be brighter colors, and I want this to be more of a dull shade. So I am going to do a couple white ones like this, and then I will paint some of my cardstock to make it different colors. So I have this template here. I will put a link in the description below to the template. You can download it for free. And I've got my piece of cardstock. So I'm going to trace the template onto my cardstock. And then I want to make a note of this line. I know it comes from the corner here. Then I want to make a mark here for that line. So I'm going to make 5 angels. I have 5 of these skirts cut out, and this mark here is where I will fold this over to, but I want the mark to be on the inside. So I'm going to turn them all over and to get ready to paint. So I have some pink paint here. I'm just using paints that I have, and sometimes they're not quite the colors that I want, and these paints tend to dry up pretty quick, so I tend to do some mixing in order to get the colors that I want rather than just going out and buying another new container. Like I said, if you have cardstock that's the color you like, then you can skip this step and not have to paint. I did lay a piece of wax paper down so I could protect my surface and not get it dirty. I was going to leave them white, a couple of them, but I think I'm going to use this vintage white instead. I really like this vintage white. It's a folk art color. I use it quite a bit on projects. It's a good color. I think I will do 2 of them this color. Okay, now I'm going to make a blue one. Again, I'm going to have to mix my colors. This is not a bad color, but I'd like it to be just a little bit more pale. And then this last one, I'm going to do a green. Again, mixed with some of my cream color here. Okay, now I have these wooden, they're knobs, like knobs to go on a piece of furniture, and they are 3/4 inch in diameter, and they have a little flat spot on one side. You could probably also use round beads, but the round beads are going to have a hole in the top. So if you want to make them ornaments like these are, you probably would prefer to have a bead, and that way you have the hole in the top. If you want them to be not ornaments and just be something to sit around, you would want to use these that don't have the hole in the top. However, if you can only find the beads and you just want them to sit, you could just put the halo over the hole. You wouldn't have to worry about it. So I have a peach color paint. Right, so I can stick my bead on the end, or my knob on the end of a paintbrush to hold it while I paint. And I only need to paint the front half to third of it. I'm going to paint the rest of it with hair later. You can see here why I don't like to buy a lot of extra paint, because it does dry up and clump pretty bad. While the paint is drying, I want to work on the arms. You'll notice they are chenille, and I have these little chenille bumps. That's what they're called. And I'm going to use one bump for each set of angel arms. So I need 5 bumps. And they're a little too white for my liking. Actually, they use different color bumps on some of the different angels, but I only have white, so I'm going to use white on all of them. I have some coffee here. You could use leftover coffee or leftover tea. I actually don't drink coffee, so I made up some instant coffee, and I'm just going to push those down in there. Make sure they get completely saturated. Now, if you want your angels to look bright and shiny and new, you would definitely want to skip this step. I want mine to look old. And I have a paper towel here. Just going to flip those out on. Oh, I have 6. I can't count. Now I will let those dry while my paint's drying. I decided to go ahead and do one extra head here in case I don't like the way one of my faces turns out. Now I'm going to go back to the faces and give them a second coat. So my paint is dry on these, and I want to make them look a little bit more antique. So I've got this folk art antiquing medium, and it's a little too thick. I don't know if it's too thick because it's gotten old. So if you bought some new, you probably wouldn't have to do this, but mine I'm going to have to thin a little bit. So I put a little bit of water in my paint tray, and then I've put in a little bit in there, a little bit of this antiquing medium. Like I said, if you get some of this antiquing medium, you want to try it to see what it's like. You might not need to do this. You could also just use some water down brown paint if you have some of that. Just want to like put on like a whitewash type of thing, but with brown to make it look dirty, antique-y. And I did do a couple samples here so I could test it out on that before I do it on my real thing. And I've got just a plain Kleenex here. I can dab it. I think that'll work good. I'm going to dab each one before I move on to the next one. Okay, now I'm going to paint the brown hair on the heads, and if you'll notice, it's kind of just a little, fairly easy little sweep up and then across and then sweep back down. So I will use some brown paint. I'm just using brown because that matches what these old ones are. Right, so I'm going to start up here at the top and just do a little swish down here like that, and then go across to make a forehead. And then same thing on the other side. And I'll paint the rest of the back of the head. So the angel dresses do have some glitter to them. I'm going to try this sparkle glaze on my sample piece to see what it looks like instead of having to do glitter. I like glitter, but it tends to be messy. So I'm going to try and see how this works. I like that. That gives it a little bit of shimmer. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably end up this shimmer sparkle glaze on the heads also, but they're not quite dry yet, and I need to put another coat of brown paint on them, and I need to draw on their faces first. Okay, these are dry now. I really like how they're looking. The hair still needs a second coat of paint. All right, these are completely dry, so I'm going to form them into the skirts now. And I do have these little mini clamps, and I'm going to use some tacky glue. So on the back side, if you remember, I made a little mark there. So I want the other side, the opposite side that's not closest to this, to fold over to that mark. And then I'll make the skirt like that. So if you notice that it's got a flat top here at the top to put the bead or the knob, the head onto. So I'm going to put glue from here on over on the inside. I'm going to make sure that the bottom edges are lined up. And then I'm going to use one of my little clamps and clamp that down. Okay, I don't see my line here. There it is. We should have made those lines a little bit bigger. Make it easier to find them, since some of the paint has worked its way to the back side of the project. I am also rounding these a little bit, trying to make sure that they are circular at the bottom. If you don't have any clamps, you could just hold it until it dries. Or if you only have one clamp, you can do one at a time. You can get these clamps at hardware stores, Harbor Freight, sometimes Dollar Tree has them. I think some of them came from Dollar Tree. They're fairly inexpensive and they're pretty handy to have when you're crafting. Looks like I need to trim this one up just a little bit. Now the paint is dry on my heads, so I want to draw little faces. Their little faces had blue eyes and a little red mouth. I'm going to use a black Sharpie marker to make my faces, and I'm going to make them look as though their eyes are closed. The first thing I want to draw is the mouth, and it's going to be an oval shape. And then the eyes. So I would like to have a little bit of my antiquing glaze. I have some of that left over here from earlier, but I also want them to have a little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to see what happens if I mix the two together. I just want a little bit of that in there. Okay, so that, you need to wipe that off right away. It definitely covers up the face. But I like the little dirty look that that gives that, and some glitter, both. Now I'm going to start gluing the heads onto the angels. So I want to make sure that I put my seam in the back and try to get this somewhat flat. And then I'm going to put glue on the bottom of my head. And again, put that in the back and her face in the front. You have to hold it there for a minute just to make sure that it stays. She looks a little funny right now, but we're going to be adding some trim around her neck and then of course her arms and her wings, and that will help her significantly. To put around the necks, I have this Christmas decorative trim. It is 4mm trim. You could use gold or silver, whatever you like. The originals had this kind of crinkly wire, kind of like a slinky, but really small. I don't have anything like that, so I'm going to use these, and this will also cover up quite a bit of imperfection around the bottom of the head as well. So I've cut 2-inch lengths, and I'm going to put glue all the way around the bottom of the head. I have let the glue from gluing on the head set up just a little bit. Apparently not enough. And then I want to put the seam, the end, around back by the seam of the paper and just wrap it around the neck. So it serves as a little necklace or a scarf. The time I put the glue on the ribbon, and I think that worked a little bit better. My arms are dry, so I'm going to get them ready. So what I want to do is cut each arm in half. And then I want to pull off some of this fluffy stuff so that I have the wire exposed on the end here. So that's pretty good right there. Now that I have a little bit of wire exposed here on each of them, I'm going to cut them off. I don't want them to be quite so long, so I want to have just a little bit of the part where it's getting thinner exposed, not nearly that much. And how much you have to cut off will probably vary based on how your chenille bumps are made. My finished pieces here are right around 1.5 inches long. Now we're going to make holes for the arms. So you want to poke a hole just a little bit down from the scarf area and on either side of the head. So then I'm going to put the exposed area here that I made. I'm going to put that into the hole. And then I'm going to fold it down to hold it in place on the inside. And then I can arrange the arm. If you want, you could put a little glue on the inside. I don't know that it's necessary. If you're having to use scissors, like I am, just want to be real careful and don't poke yourself. Make sure you know where your fingers are back behind. I am bending the arms to give it the look of an elbow. Okay, for the halos, this is a pipe cleaner, and it was in the Christmas supplies, and I'm going to just want to cut a little tiny piece to make a halo. So about right there. And that is about 1 inch. So I'm just going to twirl that up into a little ring, a circle, and then I'm going to glue it on top of her head. Okay, also on that sheet of paper are angel wings. So for each angel, you're going to need 2 wings, and you want them to be opposite of each other. I have this scrapbooking paper. I got it at Hobby Lobby, and it is double-sided. I would recommend a double-sided paper for this. So I'm going to use this as a template and trace this and then cut out 10 of these. Okay, now I'm going to glue on the wings. I want to think about the direction each pair goes. I don't want to get them backwards. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue at the bottom. And then arrange each pair. I'm just have my thumbs on the inside, and I'm using my fingers to move them around and arrange them like I like them. Then I'll let that set up. Also on my template pages, you will find a couple of hymn books. So you can cut these out. And then if you fold them in half this way, and then glue it together, glue it closed, then you can fold it in half this way, and you have a little songbook. So it says favorite hymns, and I don't know if you can see it, but real little, it's got Hark the Herald Angels Sing and Silent Night, the sheet music for those two. If you want, you can take a brown ink pad and rub the edges of your little hymn book in it. And that will give it a more distressed look. On the page with the templates that you can print out, there's a guitar template, and I cut a guitar out of this paper here. This is some handmade paper that I made from pattern pieces. I have a video showing how I made it. Put a link in the description below, but you wouldn't have to use handmade paper. You could use like a cardstock. This color would be pretty close to what this original angel had for her guitar. So then I'm going to take a marker and make lines on it so it's about black from about here up to here, and then it's got a black circle here. You could paint this, you could use some more cardstock and cut out little pieces, just however you want to do it. You could also probably make it look even more realistic if you wanted to. Add some strings. This angel has little maracas for her instrument. So I have these holly berries that you can find them in the craft stores this time of year around Christmas time. And I'm going to cut one in half, and then I'm going to paint them gold to match hers. Classic gold paint here. So I'm going to give this angel some maracas. I'm just going to glue it onto her hand here. And with these little maracas, I think I'm going to turn her, twist her hand under a little bit also to help hold those in place. This one is going to have a hymn book. Put the little guitar in her hands. I think on this one she's going to be holding it closed like this, so you can see that it says favorite hymns. Actually, I should put glue right here and here.
Be sure to click the like button and subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Bye.